Welcome to Those Odd Numbers podcast. My name is Jason Snider. I'm the founder and CEO of Main Street Financial Group. We are your fractional finance team.
I'm Summer McFarlen. I'm a CPA and certified tax coach. I'm also the co-owner of Main Street Tax Group, where we do strategic tax planning so you can keep more of what you earn.
I am Masheka Turner, and I am the owner of Bright Skies Business Services. We are your outsourced accounting firm and profit first strategies. And we are here to help you create wealth through your business by gaining clarity around your numbers.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Those Odd Numbers. And today we're going to be talking about 10th and 25th tapping the rhythm. The fun thing of what day, how do you do your allocations? And I know there's talking to other PFPs, there's a lot of different setups and valid ones. So we're going to try to cover some of those, and not that that's incorrect, the 10th and 25th, but each business has its own rhythm, and we want to align as much as possible to our work to align with that rhythm and then try to disrupt it and things. So who wants to get started? Who has some good stories? We were talking about this pre-recording things. Masheka, do you want to get started?
Sure. One of the things that I love the 10th and 25th. So first off, let me give this caveat. The 10th and the 25th is used in the book, but it's just a framework to get started. There are some businesses where this flat out just does not work. If I'm going to be honest with you, probably less than 10% of our clients are doing the 10th and 25th. Most clients are doing a weekly allocation because that's how their money comes in, and they need to look at their money more than twice a month. So even though he has the 10th and 25th in there, and they do work for a lot of businesses, at the end of the day, this is about what works for your business. So let's keep that in mind.
Yes.
But I mean, like I say, but as far as the 10th and 25th, because most bills usually fall on the 1st or the 15th, those allocation dates do work beautifully, but we want to make sure that we're using them for what we actually have going on. All right, Jason, I'll let you get into it and talk about a little bit about your experience with the 10th and 25th.
Yeah. So pretty similar. It's the rhythm usually ends up being weekly for our clients that we're working with. There's a couple of our clients that want to do more often than that. Some of them will do it daily. So it's whatever works for them and their availability. I'd say like 80, 90% of our clients are on the weekly rhythm. And the primary reason I think is there's a better rhythm with a weekly than there is 10th and 25th, or actually choosing a date, a numerical date, because some of those fall on weekends. And many of our clients have like a weekly rhythm to their schedules. So it's more about their availability and their timing of when to do it. And the term I use when we're onboarding or starting with a client is Finance Fridays. For me, I'm looking back over the week, what happened. So Friday usually was my day where I was looking back over things. And I would check doing our allocations, check the cash reports for the week, what happened, what came in, what came out, looking at my different metrics. And then also at the end of the month, doing a review of the finances, looking through the P&L once the books are closed. So try to bundle all those activity into the Finance Friday. And I would tell our clients, like, it's time blocking. So for scheduling and planning your day, I've noticed calendarizing and putting time blocks in usually make routine type of tasks more functional or more likely to get done. And so bundling it in there and explaining to a client, like, hey, you can do all of your finance activities in this 2-hour block every single week. Allocations are part of that. And so it's not just the allocations themselves, moving the money around. It's also what other financial activities could you bundle in there that likely it is going to get done now compared to when it just randomly happened, or their accountant or the bookkeeper said, hey, your reports are ready, if they're even looking at them in many cases. That could be another topic episode sometime down the road. But using the finance, some of our contractor clients prefer Mondays because that's the day they're prepping their estimates and things. And several of our contracting clients are more available on Mondays. So they end up doing their allocations and their financial activities most of the time on Mondays and things. So, and then pre-Profit First, I actually did something similar 10th and 25th for payroll for our clients. So clients that were on a twice monthly, I had them shift to doing specific days, so 10th and 25th. And to this day, our company or our business here, we run the 10th and 25th payroll primarily because we're on salary. Almost all of our team members are on salary, and they prefer getting paid twice a month as opposed to every single week. I didn't want the burden of us having to run payroll every single week. So we split it into twice a month so that our team doesn't go a full month between pay cycles and things. And so I would use that along with a separate account primarily because of fraud. So payroll checks were a big vector. And I guess there still are those who are getting checks, but we would separate payroll account 10th and 25th to separate the payroll function, which was usually the biggest drain, business finances, to separate that out. Back before, I think it was 2010, 11, I started doing something like that, and almost ahead of Profit First, the system. But that worked really well to mitigate some of those risks, and then also making sure that the funds were available and stuff. And then just as importantly, the burden on the staff having to run payroll every single week was a big burden. And so shifting to twice a month helped out operationally as well.
No, I love that. And that's something very similar we do. So usually when a client is going to do Profit First, I usually say, well, what's your admin day? What's the day you sit down and take care of it? And we just make an admin and we go ahead and we set it on the calendar. So they get a weekly reminder with a link to the sheet that we created for them. And so they don't have to find the sheet, because if you start making it too complicated, they won't do it. So we put it on. If Wednesday is going to be your day at 10 o'clock, we set it on your calendar Wednesday at 10 o'clock with a link to the allocation worksheet. And that works beautifully for the clients.
What is their response once they get used to doing it?
So once they get used to doing it, they usually get excited.
Yeah.
But one thing I do notice too, because we have control of those sheets and we usually are like billing it out by the quarter. So when they're getting close to it, they'll let you know, hey, I'm running out of space. So,
and the allocation sheets that you're talking about, just to inform the audience if they're not familiar with Profit First, is you work with your client. It's like a blueprint. Y'all come up with a plan about how you're going to implement Profit First and reach the goals that are detailed in the book. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love it. And one of the reasons I like it, well, we can see it on our calendar. So we can see, okay, hey, we saw it on the calendar the 14th, and we don't see where you've done anything for a few weeks, what's going on, because the sooner you can recognize that there is an issue, the sooner you can address it. And then I'm just going to get into it since we started talking about it. We talk a lot about the numbers and the dates, but let's just be honest. Money is very psychological. Money is feelings. Money is a lot of things. And so we have to make this as uncomplicated as possible, because a lot of times people are already feeling very weird about money. There's a scarcity. Even when there's a lot of money, people get overwhelmed by it, which we can do a whole episode on the psychology of money. I'm not even going to go into it. But I say all that to say, if you can give them a roadmap, they get peace of mind, which gives them better feelings. And if you have better feelings, then the more up you are to do it. And the more up you are to do it, the more transformation you can get.
Yeah. Well, I think from the time you're a child into your adult, you like structure. People do best with structure, I feel.
We claim we don't like it, but we need it.
But we need it. We need it. It has a very calming effect, right? And to me, the allocations and money loves the rhythm, right? But chaos loves avoidance. I always tell my clients, don't avoid that day. And I love having read-only access to my clients' bank accounts, because I'll go in and I'll check when I know their allocation day is. I'll go and see if they've made their allocations. And if they haven't, they just get a little friendly reminder from me. Yeah.
That's it. And like you said, and that's it. I mean, we claim we don't like it, but could you imagine if everybody could just drive whichever way they wanted to go and there was no rules to it? I mean, we have to have structure.
Doesn't everybody? I drive like that, doesn't everybody?
But just imagine you could just go anywhere you want. You just go, and you don't have to. I mean, think about how, and so, there's always an invisible hand making this world go around
Yeah,
in structure.
yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Very true.
Yeah. It's commonly agreed procedures or behaviors that are acceptable and others that are not, and things. So the structure, some people thrive with more, some people with a little bit less, but it exists in everything. That you can't operate anything business wise. And you mentioned about money has a rhythm, but it definitely does, because your bank loves that. They like to know that they're going to get paid. And so they build most of their models on risk assessments. Credit scores are built on this as well, paying things on time. So it's definitely ingrained in the financial and money systems, that type of a structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. They wouldn't be too keen on you telling them, hey, I'll just pay everything by the end of the period. After 2 years, you're going to get all your money at once, interest included. Yeah. They're probably not going to be like, yeah, we're not going to be lending you any money.
Absolutely not.
That is right. I think we've touched on it a little bit, but I think one of the huge benefits of following the profit first system, right, is you can make it work for your business. And so we've talked about people being on a rhythm, making their allocations on the 10th or the 25th. We've talked about weekly. I know I work with dentists and they like to do theirs. We like to do theirs on Monday, right? So we see what the prior week collections is, and we do theirs every Monday, their allocations. And then I think about me and my business, and my allocations are done. Payroll is biweekly. My allocations are done on the Wednesday before the Friday payroll to make sure we got money in the payroll account. So you can make it work for you.
Absolutely. I agree.
And some other things that I've got questions on that may run across, and these are more specific to different types of businesses. So one is around acquiring materials. So our contractor clients who have to acquire a significant amount of materials and supplies for their jobs. What I teach, especially of the smaller or firms, is once you get that contract and you know those payment schedules, we have them come up with what the amount is, calculate, hey, it's going to be, let's say, $10,000 for the entire project supplies, is we have them move that to a materials and supplies account, separate that. That becomes the real revenue. And then you run your allocations after that. That's specific for like project-based companies and things. Or if they have a hybrid model where they're doing projects and service, we have them separate that revenue so it doesn't get mixed up with the other more regular monthly payments, that revenue that's coming in, to make sure that they're not having to, borrow or steal from other accounts to fund big purchases of supplies when they could have done it from the beginning. So that's what we try to implement with our smaller clients. And then you have to shift to a different kind of model when it's a larger firm, when the dollar amounts are bigger, and you'd have less visibility of exactly what those numbers are going to be for supplies and things. So there's different applications of it, but the important thing that we're talking about is get into a rhythm with it, try to align it with as much as possible with the rhythm of a business or your particular business model, so that but have one. If you don't have one, 10th and 25th is the bare minimum, and then expand on it from there or make it fit for you, for your business. Like I think we're all mentioning, weekly tends to be the default for most of our clients. And the other factor I think that wasn't there when Mike originally wrote the book is how quickly money can move now with everything accessible through internet. I think that was just barely starting when he started writing most of the book, and we were still running most of our payrolls through paper checks and printing them at the office and then leaving them on the counter or the office table for everybody. That's changed a lot, and money moves a lot faster. H's have replaced checks in a lot of cases. Payments between vendors and customers and other things are moving through electronic medium, so it's more visible there. And so the weekly rhythm, I think, is the default now for most of our clients, even though originally when the book was written, it was still with a lot of paper money movement, as I refer to it, checks and invoices and bill payments and other things like that.
Back in the day when you had some float.
Yeah.
You might have sent out that check and not had the money in the bank, but you were praying to God you would when it cleared.
Yeah.
I know it. But I'm actually always very surprised about how many people are actually still old school writing checks. I'm
Mm.
always very surprised.
Are you?
I can't remember the last time I personally wrote a check.
Yeah.
But I have a few clients that are still writing like tons of checks. And when I'm saying tons of checks, I mean 50 plus checks a month for different things. And that's
Mm.
always very surprising to me.
That's a lot of time. That's a lot of
Yeah.
Like it is
yeah.
too. But so I'm
It's-
always encouraging them to make the shift when we can.
Yeah. I know I've got a couple of clients that still want to send me a check for payments. And I mean, I can't tell them no because A, I'd like to get paid, but B, they're older, and I don't want to say, I don't want to admit I don't have a local bank to deposit that in. I've got to use, I've got to use the mobile banking app and
Right.
that kind of, and I never can remember the passwords. So yeah, so I'm like, in my head, checks are now inconvenient, but I won't turn one down. That's for
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah. So any of you have other allocation rhythms that you've noticed for particular industries or business clients of your own that you've run across that's been functional and usable?
No, like I said, I just find that most of my clients weekly just
Yeah.
works best for them. And usually, if we can set an allocation day, and truth be told, it just really works. If you say it's going to be Monday at 10 o'clock, and if you do it every Monday at 10 o'clock, that just works. And people are more apt to stick with it if it's more systematized versus just going with the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like I said, the default that tends to be is a weekly rhythm. I haven't observed one that's systematic in approach that is better or has functions better in my view. And again, by now, very few are using it to the 25th. It's weekly life rhythms, admin days you mentioned, finance day as I talk about, and then most of our lives revolve around a weekly rhythm as well. So it just makes sense that that's the direction it's ended up going for most of our clients.
Yeah.
See, any other things we could cover on the allocations and day when we use the trail allocations? What we mean is the day we move money around into the different accounts based on our schedule. That's the
From our
internal
income
profit first
account,
thing goes.
from our income account to our profit account, our owner pay account, our tax account, and our operating account. And then whatever other accounts you've set up for your business.
No, I like it. I like it. I think that's about all we
Yeah,
have for this particular topic.
Yeah. Okay. Now's the fun time. Tips, everybody. I start with 4 tips is when you're thinking about setting up for profit first, consider your bank of who you're going to use. That's our number one indicator so far of sticking with profit first has been that banking relationship. So carefully consider as you're making a decision to set up or implement profit first that your bank is going to be able to serve that need. And thanks, I'll work with your PFP if you're working with somebody to identify some ones that work. So banking relationship matters a lot when profit first in our 6+ years now of doing this.
For
So
sure.
it does.
Mhm.
So not really a tip, but I'll just say, just do it. Do it. But don't just do it. Think about it. This is a time to be grateful because if you're making an allocation, that means you actually have money to allocate. So, not only is this an opportunity to create wealth through your business, but this is a time to be grateful too, because you actually have money to allocate. So sometimes just thinking about it, framing it a little different versus a chore.
Yeah. I guess I have some advice. Money loves rhythm would be that. And I think once you get into that habit of having a rhythm with doing your allocations, that just makes you more structured and makes you maybe a little calmer business owner.
We love a calm business owner.
We do. We don't like a panicked one.
Yeah. Rhythm structure is what makes business and money go around. Lenders get very nervous when things fall out of rhythm or get unstructured.
Yep.
Great. Well, that'll finish up for today's episode, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on a future episode of Those Odd Numbers.
This content is for general informational purposes only and is based on current law and guidance as of the date of recording. Tax law and regulations are subject to change. This discussion should not be considered tax, legal, or investment advice. Listeners should consult their own tax or financial professional regarding their specific situation.